So diets fail because they don't teach you how to regulate yourself. They don't tell you how to work on your behavior. They don't teach you how to handle life events. If you've tried these diets or if you've tried these methods of weight loss and they haven't worked for you, it's not your fault. They just told you what to do for a short amount of time. They told you that this misery would be over in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 75 days. But they never told you what to do beyond. How can you regulate your nervous system while something challenging is happening? And how can you tell the signs that are trying to be apparent in your body, that your body is trying to give you signals that there's something wrong? And so if you're in this place and you decide to accept, well, my cravings are just gonna be like that, I'm gonna struggle forever, I'm gonna tell you that there is a way out, but it's not gonna be through dieting. Welcome back, friends. I'm your host, Sherry Shaban, and with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food, fall in love with fitness, and ultimately yourself. My intention in each episode is to help you release the old story of who you are and step into the one you're always meant to be. We'll challenge conventional diet and fitness culture and understand the importance of tuning out all the shoulds they tell us to do and tuning into our own inner wisdom instead. What you focus on, you create more of. Through these conversations, you'll shift your focus from what you're supposed to be doing to who you want to be, so that health and fitness and ease around food is not just what you do, but who you are. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then I want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly and access all the free trainings and resources we have for you so you can regulate your nervous system and make peace with food. And then also remember to share this episode with someone who you think needs to hear this today. The links are in the show notes. If you've ever said, I just need more willpower, I need you to hear this today. It's never about willpower. The truth is, diet culture taught us to focus on the wrong thing. We've been conditioned to obsess over macros, carbs, and meal plans, while completely ignoring the thing that actually drives your cravings, your hormones. When I was deep in the fitness industry, running CrossFit gyms over 10 years ago, I couldn't understand why so many people were sabotaging themselves, myself included, even when they were doing everything right. What I didn't know then, but I do now, is that when your cortisol is constantly elevated, your body goes into survival mode. This is what I refer to as protection mode. So here's what cortisol does. It increases belly fat storage. It hijacks your sleeps. It triggers cravings, especially sugar and salt. It disrupts your hunger signals so you don't know when you're hungry and when you're full, and it leaves you wired, tired, and foggy. And guess what? It doesn't need to take a major trauma or tragedy to raise cortisol. Everyday stress, overtraining, skipping meals, going on intense diets, saying yes to everything, not sleeping enough, all of that counts. And when cortisol rises, the rest of your hormones follow. So if you've been stuck in a cycle where you feel good all day about your eating and then unravel at night, if you've ever thought, what's wrong with me? I want to offer you something softer. You don't need to try harder. You need to be heard by your body. And that starts by tuning into the signals no one taught you how to read. And this is exactly what I'm doing on July 15th during the Hormone Reset Workshop. After struggling for years and going through this exact cycle myself, I wanted to create something that didn't just talk about willpower or discipline, but that showed you how to tune into your body and understand what's really going on beneath the surface. And I'm so excited to share this with you because I know firsthand how life-changing it can be when you finally get to the root of your cravings, your energy, that mysterious weight gain, and your body's signals. This isn't just about another diet and workout plan. This is about understanding the science behind why your body reacts the way it does, and then learning how to bring it back into balance. So if this resonates with you today and you want to understand more and you feel like something's been off with your body, then join me July 15th, whether in person or you want to catch the replay. Just head on over to sherryshaban.com/hormone workshop. Again, sherryshaban.com/hormone workshop. It's completely free to join. I can't wait to walk you through those 6 steps to help you reset your hormones and reclaim your body. I'll see you there. All right, now let's get into it. I shared with you that I used to own a CrossFit gym. This was actually pre-pandemic. I owned a CrossFit gym. I actually owned 2 gyms at one time. So that was one of the truths that I shared earlier. And I ended up selling one over the span of those 10 years where I operated CrossFit gyms. And then I ran just one. And what I was doing in my CrossFit gym were challenges as well. I was actually running 28-day transformations or 6-week challenges. And these 6-week challenges, what I would do is I would give people a template, a meal plan template, where I'd give them recipes, I'd give them exact macro amounts based on their body weight and based on their weight loss goal. They would have a certain plan. So I had 6 plans that I'd created. These are all meal plans, all with calculated macros based on current body weight. So if you fell in a certain body weight range, then you would get this plan or that plan. And I'd have all the recipes there and people would follow this. Plus on top of it, they would have to come in for 5 workouts every single week. And the more the better. Okay, the more the better. And I share this with you because this is how incorrect my approach was. This is how faulty my approach was. And I would see massive success, by the way, over this time. I mean, people were like literally melting. It was pretty insane, actually. And there was always some sort of prize, by the way. So at the end of this challenge, there was always some prize. So they were working towards something. And they would do really well while they were on it. So this was this exact behavior that I saw. And we had, that culture of cheering each other on, and we would do weigh-ins every single week. So there was a lot of accountability. But one thing I always noticed was at the end of these challenges, whether that was 28 days or 6 weeks, then I would just see people slowly and gradually as they walked into the gym would start reverting back to how they used to be before the challenge. And I kept seeing this over and over again. And I kept thinking to myself, like, wow, is that a motivation thing? Is that like a willpower thing? And it didn't cross my mind yet that it was actually a hormonal thing, right? It was a hormonal thing. And this is why diets fail. Diets fail because they don't address hormones and they don't address eating behaviors. And by the way, 6 weeks or 28 days is a very short amount of time to make sustainable changes. Here's what I mean by that. When you make changes for a short amount of time, 28 days or 6 weeks, you don't actually experience a major life event generally during that time. So while you're following this meal plan and 21 days left or 15 days left, and you see the countdown happening, you're so focused on that finish line. And that's the only thing that keeps you going, is the fact that this thing is going to be over. This misery is going to be over soon. And you don't actually get to bring in an actual life event while you're going through this thing. And life events such as illness, death, like having somebody close to you pass away or get really ill, loss, so whether that's financial or relationship or career, and of course, everything in between, all of life's challenges. So while all of these things are happening, you don't actually get to learn how can I adapt myself and how can I adapt my routine and my rituals to be able to handle these life events. So diets don't teach you how to handle life events, how to regulate your cortisol, how to stay balanced and improve your sleep, or how to be flexible and adaptable when this huge thing is happening in your world. And in the moment that that thing happens and it's over, what you decided to do, because you can't handle them both, you can't handle a strict regimen and meal plan at the same time as you're trying to handle this major life event, you give up one. You only know how to handle one. You don't know how to be flexible and adaptable. So diets fail because they don't teach you how to regulate yourself. They don't tell you how to work on your behavior. They don't teach you how to handle life events. And so when your coping method is food or alcohol or cannabis or shopping or anything else, and you're going through this difficult life situation, of course, you're going to rely and lean back on that coping mechanism to get through that difficult situation. So I want you to hear this. It is not your fault. If you've tried these diets or if you've tried these methods of weight loss and they haven't worked for you, it's not your fault. They just told you what to do for a short amount of time. They told you that this misery would be over in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 75 days. But they never told you what to do beyond. How can you regulate your nervous system while something challenging is happening? And how can you tell the signs that are trying to be apparent in your body, that your body is trying to give you signals that there's something wrong? And it's doing that through saying, hey, your sleep is off, or hey, you've got a lot of pain. Hey, you're always tired or foggy brain. Oh, look at all these cravings. Those are signs from your body that something is off. It's not signs that that's how you are. It's signs that something is off. And so if you're in this place and you decide to accept, well, my cravings are just gonna be like that, I'm gonna struggle forever, I'm gonna tell you that there is a way out, but it's not gonna be through dieting. And it gets very, very confusing when you have tried things in the past that may have worked for a short amount of time, and you're in this place of struggle because your brain's like, oh, remember that time when you did this thing and you lost a whole bunch of weight? You just got to go back and do that again. But you know that that's not going to work, either because you've already tried it, which is why you're here, because you know something is off, or because you remember that, sure, I did release weight while I was doing this thing, but then all of a sudden I gained it back. And then I struggled again. And then I was on to the next thing and on to the next thing. Or I only lose weight when I'm keto. And then once I stop keto, I gain weight. And then I go back on keto to lose weight. And then I get off keto. And then it's like this yo-yo. And that's actually one of the most stressful things for the body, is yo-yoing. Weight loss and weight gain. That's more than 10 pounds all the time, constantly, is stressful on the body. And this is a sign that there is a dysregulation in your nervous system as well as your hormones, because it takes you willpower and a lot of accountability to have to do it, which really means that there's a codependency. That means you depend on something outside yourself to commit or to see results. And that can only help you for so long. And I saw this too in the pandemic. Once they asked us to close our gyms, okay, that's what happened in Montreal. Overnight, close your gyms. We don't know for how long, just close them. We closed our gyms. And then I saw, as I was bumping into people on the street while I was walking, I would see my members over time. They weren't exercising anymore. They had also started a lot of habits that clearly showed that they were holding on to stored energy. And the reason for that is because they relied on the gym. That's what made them accountable to see transformation or to make sure that ensured results. And that's not where I want to take you. I want you to release this codependency. I want you to have full agency over your body. That it's not someone else who's making you eat this way. Or you're not trying to hold yourself accountable by going to this workout class. And if you don't go to the workout class, then everything else kind of falls off. That's not what I want for you. What I want for you is for you to have full agency over your body. For you to start picking up the signals. You know cortisol is high simply through watching and observing your thoughts. And your thoughts, when they are negative, especially the negative self-talk, when they are focused on worst case scenarios, when they're always focused on things that are wrong, when you're constantly putting yourself down, when they're thoughts on scarcity, which is not enough time, not enough resources, not enough money. When your thoughts are focused there, this is a sign that cortisol is high in your body. Because every thought you have creates chemistry in the body. And thoughts that are stressful, that bring up doubt, that bring up fear, that bring up anxiety and worry and shame, all of that trigger cortisol. And now here's the cascade. Cortisol is high, so blood sugar is high, whether through cravings or through pulling up from what's already stored there. Then all of a sudden insulin is released from the pancreas. Insulin is the storage hormone. And now it tells the body, do not, I repeat, do not allow any fats to come out of storage. Leave all the fat in fat cells. And in fact, add more to them. Increase that storage. And so you're on this loop. And because you're on this loop driven by cortisol and insulin, you're overriding ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. That's what tells you how to eat and what to eat. And then it's going to override leptin, which says, hey, I'm full, stop eating. And the more you do this, you now get stuck in this loop, and that's your set point. And cortisol also disrupts your sleep. So now your sleep is disrupted. You're not getting deep sleep. Therefore, you're not recovering at night. You're not healing inflammation. And what happens when you don't have restful sleep, your hunger hormones, your ghrelin, is even higher the next day. Because again, that's your body's telling you there's an emergency, there's something going on. So your sleep affects your hunger hormones and your satiety hormones. When you're really tired and you haven't slept, you have way more cravings the next day. And or your choices around how you want to nourish your body are majorly affected. And that's how important it is to focus on sleep, which again is why we take this conversation away from how can I release weight? How do I lose 50 pounds fast? Oh my God, I want to always lose weight. All I think about is losing weight. We take our thoughts away from that, which are very stressful thoughts, which thoughts that are continue to bring up fear. Right? I mean, how do you feel when your thoughts are always like, oh my God, you got so big. Oh my God, your pants don't fit. Oh my God, what happens if you keep getting bigger? Oh my God, what happens if this keeps going? Is that not fear? Is that not stress and overwhelm and anxiety and doubt and shame? And when you have those thoughts, they trigger cortisol. And so you're in this loop. And so if you focus away from I need to lose weight onto how can I regulate cortisol? All right, that's going to be my mission. My mission is going to be to regulate cortisol. And I'm going to make sure that the next 6 months of this year don't start off like the first 6 months. I'm not repeating the same 6 months twice this year. And like Bob Proctor says, if you repeat the same mistake twice, the second time is a choice. Because now that you know better. And this is when I see people transform. And I'm telling you, like, I work with very challenging weight loss cases. Very challenging weight loss cases. I am the last resort. And I say that with so much reverence and just holding the space for those who really are at this point where it is for them. This is it. Like, this is the last choice. And usually at the point where people do come to see me, they haven't been dieting for like a year or two. They've been dieting for almost their whole life, like since they were kids. They've had failure after failure and disappointment after disappointment and after disappointment over and over and over again. And by the time they come see me, their set point is nothing's ever going to work. I spent a gazillion trillion dollars on all the things and nothing's ever going to work. I've tried to buy all the organic stuff. I've signed up for all kinds of programs where they created meals for you and delivered them. And I've done the shakes. I've tried the pills. Some of them have even done a gastric bypass or another weight loss surgery when they come to see me, which didn't stick. And again, it's not their fault. The problem is they were told that if you want to lose weight, you just got to watch your calories in, calories out, figure out that equation. Go into a calorie deficit, exercise a lot, cut all these things, and it'll happen. But it never stays because they never address what's actually happening, which is what's going on with hormones and what's going on with their nervous system. And many people have traumas that are driving their cravings, and trauma is this thing that you experience based on how you saw an event in the past. Trauma is not what happened to you, it's how you perceived it and then put it on repeat, which means trauma doesn't happen to you once, it's happening over and over and over and over and over and over again. And whether that is a serious trauma, like a sexual trauma, or even trauma that you've picked up around the conversation of weight and fat loss and your size and all of the other things that come with it. So when that's on repeat in your mind, that's your set point, which is why the thought of losing weight triggers cortisol. Every thought we have creates chemistry in the body. The thoughts of worry and shame and doubt and fear and uncertainty and yeah, right, this is not going to work and not enoughness, that triggers cortisol. And now you've got your whole cascade going. And so cortisol is the hormone that actually we have to address in the mind. And this is why a lot of people get it wrong. This is exactly why a lot of people get it wrong. Because they tell you, just go take a bath. Just put some Epsom salts in there. It's going to be so great. Or like, go take a walk. No, you have to change your thoughts. You have to change your set point. Because you can go take a bath and then 20 minutes later, something triggers you. And now you have those thoughts of doubt and fear and worry and shame. And boom, you've got cortisol now high in the bloodstream. And now blood sugar is high, either through your cravings or because it was released into the bloodstream via just assimilating glycogen from the muscle tissue and from other cells. And now your insulin is high and now you're in storage mode. And as soon as insulin drops the blood sugar, boom, you've got another craving, which is why you can eat something sweet and then 30 minutes later you want more, and then 30 more minutes later you want even more, and it just never stops. And of course, because that's all disrupting your sleep, your energy levels, your mood, your digestion, your gut health, now ghrelin and leptin are also off. And then thyroid hormone is off. And then estrogen balance is off. And now we see all these other issues such as PCOS and estrogen dominance. So can you start to see the link that if you really want to reset your hormones, it starts in the mind, and it starts with those 6 shifts, which we're just about to get into. You know, they say that in order to change, you really have to get into a lot of pain. And they don't just mean like physical pain. It's like literally your life is falling apart pain. Well, this was my painful moment. I remember this one time. My mom had just passed away. So this was the end of 2019. And over the last few years, I had changed the way that I ate so much. I actually, during that time, became 100% plant-based. And I was training a lot. I was not resting because that's how I dealt with my mom's death. I just trained, exercised, tried as much as I possibly could to get out of my mind and into my body. And that's what I used as a tool to cope. And so I remember this one time I had made myself this massive bowl of oats, and I was training so much. So the amount of food I was consuming was a little bit ridiculous. And I remember I was just trying my best to get as many calories and nutrients in. And I had this huge bowl of oats, which I put nuts in, and I put chia seeds, and I put all kinds of fruit. I think there was like 3 pieces of fruit in there. And I remember I finished this entire bowl. Like by the end, I remember of that period, my bowls, like my food bowls, were getting bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually I was using like a family-sized bowl for like my salads and like my oats. Like it was getting like a little bit out of control because remember, my leptin is resistant. So I remember I finished this whole bowl of oats, and then I went and made another one exactly the same. And I remember eating the second bowl of oats, and my stomach was like, oh my God. I had these thoughts. I'm like, oh my, like, is it possible to die from like a burst stomach? Like, is that a thing? Like, has that ever happened, that it could really be possible that your stomach can burst and like you can die that way? Because I think that's exactly what's about to happen. And that was my moment where I was like something is really wrong. Something is seriously wrong. And I'm so grateful for that moment, because that's really what led me to realize like there's something off. I'm full, yet I'm still eating. So it's not a matter of I don't want to, it's a matter of I can't. And that means my biology is overriding this, right? So sometimes you have to get to that moment. And I don't wish upon anyone this moment. I hope it's nowhere close. I hope nobody ever experiences anything like that. But think of what your line in the sand moment is. Can you create one now? That doesn't have to be so painful. Maybe it's how you want to live the rest of your life. Maybe it's how you want to be there for your kids. Maybe it's what you no longer tolerate right now about how you speak to yourself, about how you keep playing small, about how you're hiding and eating while you're hiding because there's so much shame around how you're showing up. So just think about that. Are you in this moment right now? Are you in this moment right now? So our first shift that we have to do to reset our hormones is to sync the circadian rhythm. Okay? Your circadian rhythm is your biological clock. It's your biological clock, which really means and says that your clock is tuned to a certain time, which is different for people. There's different types of chronotypes. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. And this also means that during certain times of the day, certain hormones peak at certain times to do their job. And some of these hormones include growth hormone, which peaks at night while you're sleeping. And growth hormone helps you repair, helps you recover. And another hormone that naturally peaks in the morning, depending on what time of the morning it is for you, because depending on your chronotype, but another hormone that peaks in the morning is cortisol. Cortisol actually naturally peaks in the morning. And in the morning, according to your chronotype, you're more insulin sensitive. And at night, according to your chronotype, you're more insulin resistant, which means there's the right timings to consume certain things, and your body is going to be very sensitive to things or insensitive to things, depending on when you're eating them. But what I want you to think about is this. If you have this ability to know what your biological clock is and realize that in the morning, these hormones peak, that means if I give my body this nourishment, I will actually be able to control my cortisol release and regulate it. And if I do that, it's going to affect, it's a domino effect, it's going to affect the insulin, which also governs my fat storage. So what this basically means at the end of the day is instead of cutting things out, you actually know when to time things. And like I said, and I shared right when we started, 2 Truths and a Lie, I love chocolate and I prefer chocolate over kale chips any day. And if I eat them and consume them according to my circadian rhythm, I'm working with my hormones, not against them. In the evenings, we are more insulin sensitive. Again, you have to know your chronotype to know when that is for you. But if you're more insulin resistant at night, this means that if you consume something that's going to trigger a lot of insulin, your body's going to put it right into storage, as compared to if you ate it at a different time of the day. And so there's different chronotypes. So you can be an early riser, you can be a mid-morning type where your peak is a little bit later in the day. You could be someone where you peak a little bit later in the afternoon. You have to determine your chronotype, which is why you'll notice that some people wake up and they're starving, they're ready to eat, while other people wake up and they're like, I'm not hungry for breakfast yet. No, I just wait till I'm hungry and then I eat. And that's how you have to work with your biology and give your body the nourishment it needs at the right time, all while just balancing your hormones so that you can have what you want, so you don't have to restrict. You just have to work with your biology. And the other thing too that we have to keep in mind when it comes to balancing your circadian rhythm is that resetting this is going to be the foundation of all the other shifts. So we talked about the 6 shifts, but if you reset this one, which is why we're going to start with that on week 1 of the 6-week hormone reset, the moment you do this, it's going to be way more ease to shift all the other ones. Okay. You'll notice that we work on sleep. That's only like week 4, deep sleep, week 4. Why is that? Because if we started this off saying, okay, we're going to stop eating at night, we're going to stop all those habits, and we're going to just work on the sleep, that's a lot of resistance. That's challenging because we're going to be working against our biology. If at night we're craving our favorite foods in front of the TV, and we're going to be fighting that to try to improve our sleep, that's a hard start. The body's already like, I'm in protection mode. Cortisol's high. This feels like a threat. Stop this, whatever you're doing. I don't like it. There's a lot of change, right? So step one is we have to work on our circadian rhythm. Now, your second shift is we're going to heal leptin resistance. That's really your ability to stop eating when you're full, right? And stop eating when you're full. Full isn't the, oh my God, my stomach's going to explode feeling. Full is the, my body's had enough. I don't need to count the calories, the macros. Like I've consumed enough. And the other thing too about healing the leptin resistance, it's going to change what you crave. It actually changes what you crave. And so leptin is what tells your brain I'm full and I'm safe. Okay? Hear that part. Hear that second part. Leptin tells your brain I'm full and I'm safe. That's why at the end of the night when we're snacking in front of the TV with our favorite snacks and we're eating until we're full, we feel safe. After a long, hard day at work or a really crazy busy week, and we treat ourselves with something, it's to feel safe. The reason we treat ourselves or we feel like we've earned it after we've lost 5 pounds or after we've had a really amazing week or a really crappy week, either way, the reason we feel we deserve whatever we're eating is to feel safe. And that comes from leptin. And so when leptin is disrupted because cortisol is high and insulin's all over the place all day long, we don't have that feeling of safety. We're just actually chasing it all day. You're chasing that feeling all day. You're constantly wanting to reward yourself all day. And so you're confusing your hunger signals and also disrupting your sleep. And if you disrupt your sleep, then the next day, we all said, yes, me too, when we talked about when you don't get restful sleep, you have cravings the next day. We all experience that because that's what happens. And so it's so important to work on this and to make sure that this comes to balance because you're going to see your sleep restored. You're going to feel that you feel safe without needing to eat. And remember, your set point is where you feel safe. So if your set point right now is set on I need to eat and I have cravings and I binge at night or I fear a lot of things happening in the world because I'm always watching the news and following the politics. And if this is your set point right now, you can achieve a different set point by resetting your leptin. And we do this, by the way, without needing to track our food. Like you're going to see suddenly that you're just naturally eating less without tracking and without trying to restrict your overeating, right? And so when you're doing that, you'll always feel satiety. You'll always feel like you're comfortable in just that feeling of not needing to nibble on things and mindlessly eat. It is so freeing. It is so freeing. And I have to tell you, this is where we start to see people shift into that freedom. This is where what we call food freedom. Like literally, food freedom is I don't have to finish this plate. I'm done. Or I don't have to worry or fear that I'm not going to get seconds. Or have that impulse of food scarcity, feel like there's not going to be enough for me. And that all comes from regulating leptin resistance, which is what we do as our second shift. And then the third shift is really fun. The third shift is where we start to pair food. And we pair foods to regulate insulin. And what's super funny, I had a retreat just a month ago in Costa Rica. And during retreats, I generally offer a vegetarian diet. I do this deliberately because I want to keep the body light. We're doing deep internal work, a lot of healing work. And so we keep the body light. And so I had 2 people there who had insulin resistance who were actually taking medication for diabetes. And we're all eating the same food, okay? We're all having the same breakfast layout. It's the exact same lunch, and it's all plant-based. It's all straight from their farm. It's farm to table. And on I think this was day 4 or 5, okay? It was like literally 15 minutes apart. I had conversations with 2 different people. One person came up to me and said, "Oh my God, Sherry, I've been measuring my blood sugar, and because of the way we've been eating all week, I know it's really healthy and stuff, but because of the way we've been eating all week, my sugar is the highest it's ever been. And I know we just got a couple days left, but really what I'm taking away from this is that this whole vegetarian plant-based diet is not for me. Like my blood sugar is really high." And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for sharing. And, I gave whatever support I could offer in the moment. 15 minutes later, somebody else comes up to me. We're eating the same thing. And he says to me, "Oh my goodness, Sherry, I think this whole vegetarian thing is for me. My blood sugar has never been the lowest. I measured it this morning. My doctor is going to freak out. And I love the food. And I think when I go back home, I'm going to keep eating this way. Like, it's really working for me. My blood sugar has been so stable this whole time since we've been eating this way." So you see, that's why when you create your metabolic blueprint and we go through these steps together, it's so important to have that feedback. We're all eating the same thing, and yet the way our hormones are responding to the same thing is not the same. It's not the same. And so this was my reminder of how important it is to pair foods in a different way. And I always get this question, by the way, like, "Can you tell me more about food pairing? Can you tell me what I should put together?" And yeah, there's different ways to do it. But like I just shared, if I give 3 people or 5 people or all of you right now in this room a list of how to pair your food, your body won't all respond the same. So therefore, I'm not really helping you. But by understanding what is your chronotype first, working on circadian rhythm, next, leptin resistance, then start working on food pairing. Now we've got a path. Now we can try things out, and we're going to know what works and what doesn't fit. Okay? So when we food pair, we can control blood sugar, which means we can control insulin. And food pairing really is putting different combinations together at different times. And the different times is really important. Okay? It's really grouping things together at certain times so that you can control blood sugar spikes, you can control insulin release, therefore you can control blood sugar crashes, and thus cravings and fat storage. Okay? And it helps you keep your energy up, and it helps keep your mood stable. Okay, so there's different ways that we try that. And ultimately, you're going to feel calm and not controlled by sugar, especially that mid-afternoon dip where you're tired and you need a pick-me-up, like something with caffeine in it and something sweet. You don't experience that. When you pair your food appropriately for yourself, you won't experience any of that stuff.